じゃあ次いきますか。Let's go to the next one. So the final theme is improving yourself in society. So it's about yourself, about ourselves. So we've been talking about the workplace, but how can we do that individually? So 個人として、そして社会にどのようにして自分をこういった社会の中でどうやって成長していくかということですね。First question is, how can we deal with conflict and disagreement at work? Hold on,
Nope, wasn't it?
How can we deal with conflict and disagreement at work? どのようにして、コンフリクトは、アーギュメントとかですね、問題が起きたときに、とか、違った意見が、ぶつかったときに、仕事場の中でどのようにして対応していきますか？
Yeah. So I think conflict is okay, but you need the resolution afterwards. You need to get to the resolution, you need to listen. If you don't listen, you're just going to keep talking. And if you look at the elections in America when like they're just basically talking and no one's listening, no solution happens. Okay. And okay, じゃあ日本語。こういう、喧嘩っていうか、こういう、意見が合わないときが別に問題じゃないけど、でも必ず必要なのが解決、最終的にね。で、どうやってその解決を達成するのが、ちゃんと相手のことを聞いて理解する。When both groups or if there's multiple groups listen well and understand, they should be able to pick out the good points, but you should also be able to see where their counter argument actually holds merit, and then you can start to think of a compromise for a best situation. Yeah, so you have to, of course, you want to maybe impose and say that your thing is correct, but you need to kind of sometimes step back a bit and kind of like be a third party and just look at things from a overall view and say, okay, well, how do I take the best parts of both arguments and make an improved decision? で、相手のことを聞いて、でも自分の、もし相手がすごくいいポイントを、言って、それをちょっと反省して、やはり、このポイントもいいですね。で、自分がもうちょっと引いて、第三者の考えとして、全体的に全部見て、で、そうすると、2人、3人でもみんなで意見合わせて、ベストディシジョン、なんていうんだ、解決とかをリーチすると思います。でもやっぱりずっと自分のことを主張して俺が正しいですとかはそれが良くない。ちゃんと相手とかを聞いて、でそうするとよりいい、結果が出ると思います。
I see. Okay. All right, next questions. So is Japanese hierarchy system connected to the language? 日本語のそのヒラルキー、日本語でヒラルキーかな？
上下関係ですね。
上下関係のシステムというのは、語学に関係しているかという、ディープな質問ですけど。
Short answer, yes. 簡単な、答えははい。In Japanese, there are a lot of honorifics, and even without honorifics, when you have a language where the word brother and sister, or you refer to your brother and sister as older brother or older sister, or younger brother, younger sister, they have specific words. When it's rooted into the family itself, you really can't break away from that. 日本語の場合ですね、brother, sister とかね、もし年上の兄弟がいたら必ずお兄ちゃんとかお兄さんとかお姉さんお姉ちゃんとかは言うですね。またはでそうすると、家族自体が言葉で誰かが上誰が下がもうなんていうんだ、そういう文化が生み込んでいるから、それがなんていうんだ、それから脱線、なんていうんだ、抜く break away なんていうんだ、日本語で。
break away。
この跳ねられない、こういう上下関係。中国語もそうだし、韓国語もそうだし。だから、こういうこともあります。そして敬語、職場でですます使って、謙譲語、尊敬語とかもあって、なんていうんだ、もしかして同じレベルの同僚が、ちょっとリラックスして、なんていうんだ、スラングなんだっけ、砕けた表現、なんていうんだ。敬語、そんなに硬い敬語使わなくてもいいですけど、でも、例えば、社長とかは必ず、何々いらっしゃいますとか、なんていうんだ、 敬語を使って自分のレベルを下がって、で、相手を高める。で、お客さんがいるときも、誰かが上、誰か下とか、で、そういうことで、やっぱり、言語がすごく、強くて、だから日本の上下関係が、イギリスの上下関係が全然違います。So in Japan, the way you talk to your boss is completely different to how you talk to the staff that's on your level. Also, if you're talking to a customer, like there are words that you, a certain way of speaking, which puts you at a lower level and it raises their level to kind of show who sits where in this kind of hierarchy of social order. You can't really break away the Japanese from the hierarchy system because it's embedded in the language.
So shall we change the language?
まあ
言語を変えるか。
言語を変える、なんて言うんだ。
And then I actually, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like that either. And English is quite, I don't know, casual language, or I don't know how to say, but it's, of course there's a formality. まあ、尊敬語とかあるけれど、すぐ仲良くなったら、上の人でも普通に謙譲語とかもね、使わないでいい。We don't have to use the respect word once you get to know each other. There is a formality in English, but so I just fed up. So I normally just speak everyone, 尊敬語. So I use ですます。mostly, unless they are very, 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 very close. ほとんどめんどくさいんで僕も、ですますを使わないんじゃなくて、逆に僕はもう全員にもうですますを使って、そうした方がもうなんか楽というか、まあ、ちょっと言語の中でね、まあ、それも文化と言ったら文化なんですけど、なんか言語がそれをコントロールしすぎちゃってるところがあるかなとは思いますけどね。I think it's controlling too much. I think we can go as it is. I think it's quite good.
I think the other thing is that in English we have ways. So if Satoshi, I might give you a nickname. I might call you, hey, Dáte, or like, hey, I don't know, I might give you a nickname, right? But in Japanese, even the way you call somebody, whether it's Satoshi-san, Date-san, Date-kun, Date-chan, Date-sama, or like I have to put your title at the end of your name, like Date Shacho, President Date, right? It's already when you call someone, you're already acknowledging what level they are. So if I called you Date-chan, I'm not respecting you, like putting you up. I'm putting you either my level or lower. So, and this can, I don't know, have a very deep impact. It doesn't, when foreigners are involved, it's a bit different because sometimes you just do, you just ignore like the suffix. You just call them like just Victor instead of Victor-san. But
that's very rude.
But in Japanese, that's rude if you do that. Or automatically foreigners or people who are not Japanese are put in this completely new category altogether. And the Jorge Kanke system, they don't kind of fit into it because they don't have a proper way of calling their name. 日本語ごめん。で、日本語はね、いろんな呼び方があるんだ。例えば、サトシ君、サトシちゃんとか、サトシ様、サトシ社長。で、呼び方によってもう僕の頭が決まっていて、あなたのレベルが僕より下とか僕より上で、そうすると、この呼び方だけで上下関係が作っています。だけど外国人の場合、例えば呼び捨てしてビクターだけです。ビクターこれできるとか。で、日本語は普通は例えば、Hey サトシこれできるって、これは結構失礼な感じで、だから呼び捨ては外国人が呼び捨てても OK で、外国人が別のカテゴリーで、この上下関係にたまにかフィットできない言語のせいで。はい。
はい。Okay. Alright. Let's move on. We could come back to that. So, actually, last question. Is there anything we can do as a customer to improve ourselves? Yeah. お客さんとして、この今まで語ってきたこと、こういう関係とかを変えることができるか。Well, so in Japan, it's very customer is God kind of society, but often we got to serve the customers too much. But that means we can't be slave of the customers. I mean, anyone can be customers in Japan, even you work in any places. どんな仕事をしてても、お客様になるってことは、まずあり得るわけで、そういった中で、そのお客さん側で何か変えることができるんじゃないかな。自分がの態度で。So as a customer, you can be customer anywhere in Japan, and maybe you can change this kind of hierarchy system. Like some of my friends, I'm trying to do as well. I say arigato to people who serving something, for example, like a restaurant or cafe. In English, we say thanks, thank you for bringing the tea or whatever. We say that because thanks is very easy. Arigato, thanks is very different. Completely different language. It's not the same meaning, I think. But I think it's quite odd to do that in Japan because usually you say to someone who you don't know the arigatou gozaimasu, but you say arigato. It's kind of looking down, but I think it's quite nice to say to the people who are serving. I'm trying to do that, but it's odd. そう、日本では、カフェとかでね、できるだけありがとうっていう言い方をしようとはしてるんですけど、かなり変に思われるですよね。でも英語だと、イギリスとかだと、thanks っていうのは、thank you を言うのは普通ですよね。何かをしてくれたことに対して、普通にスーパーマーケットとか行っても、終わった後に何か挨拶をしますよね。それは文化ではあるけれど、何かサーブしてくれたことに対して、礼を言うのは、当然かなと僕はこっちが長いので思っちゃうんですけど。Yeah, so what do you think about it? どう思いますか？
In general, you just have to be a respectful person. It doesn't matter if you're the customer and they're serving you. It doesn't matter if supposedly you're supposed to be higher up. You should just remember that the person that is serving you or whoever it is you're talking to is a person. There are consequences where your actions, or you could complain and say some nasty things, even if it's not that person's fault, which may affect them later. You don't know. Maybe you don't care, but it might affect them. Maybe they'll have some mental problem later or depression. So it's important that you remember that every time you speak to someone, that person is a human. 第一なのが必ず誰でもにちゃんと尊敬リスペクトするが、重要です。相手が、自分がお客さんで相手が、店員でも誰でもね結局その人は人間です。で、自分のもし例えば文句ばっかりすごいひどいことが言って結局その人はまだ人間ですよね。で仕事の後ももしかして何かトラブルがあって、うつ病とか何かなんていうの自分の言葉だけで影響があるかもしれない。だからできればまず忘れないで相手が人間です。ちゃんとリスペクトした方がいいです。上下関係なしでそう思います。And then the other thing is sometimes it's not just your words but your actions have a big impact as well. And we can be good customers. Like Japan is very good with things like keeping trains clean. You use the service, so treat things nicely. In Japan, there's a lot of cafes or restaurants, like these canteen places. You get a tray. What do? You put the tray back in the area, you take it to them, and you keep your table clean for the next customer. These are very basic things because everyone's doing it in Japan. But in England, a lot of people like McDonald's, some people just leave their stuff or the table is messy and sticky after they've used it. The tube, they leave newspapers and they don't take their rubbish with them. And because of that, service is impacted. They have more time, the staff have to clean up more, or when you sit at the table, it's dirty before you get there. It's things like that. So your actions also being respectful for people in general and everyone around you, and you're basically borrowing their things. You're borrowing a seat on the train. Treat it nicely. ごめん長かった英語。でまた言葉だけじゃなくて自分のやっていることもすごい強いインパクトがあります。日本はそこまでそんなに問題ないと思いますけれども、イギリス特にねレストランとか結構、日本は例えば食堂で なんかトレイとかを必ず返して、できれば、テーブルが、なんていう拭いて、もう綺麗にする。とりあえず食べてから綺麗にして、次のお客さん、迷惑かけないように、次のお客さんが綺麗なテーブルが使える。ね。また、電車ね、自分のゴミを持って帰って。でもイギリスはね、特にロンドンの地下鉄、ゴミだらけで、ゴミとか、ポンと置いて、新聞とか、コーラのキャンとかを置いて、だから、やっぱり、いいお客さんとしてちゃんとそのサービス使うときにきれいに使って、で、そうすると、次の人に、いい、環境とか作って、でもしみんなが同じことをやったら、なんかよりいい、なんかサービスが楽しめるんですよね。
That's efficient. 効果的。
Yeah.